My name's SAFDAR Ahmed. I'm one of the founders of the Refugee Art Project. Our project was started in late 2010 for the purpose of providing art workshops for asylum seekers and refugees in the Villawood Detention Centre. Our participants are people who've been through the detention system from such countries as Iran, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Syria and Burma, for instance. And with the artwork taken from our workshops, we then, in collaboration with our participants, exhibit them to the Australian public, put them online. We've self-published our own zines in order to try and educate the community and to challenge some of the misconceptions that surround the refugee issue. The comic that I drew about the Villawood Detention Centre is based on my experiences of visiting Villawood on behalf of the Refugee Art Project over the last 5.5 years. It collates many of the impressions that I've gathered as a visitor, as well as some of the direct things people have told me, the stories and experiences of refugees and the people I've known. The most personal aspect of it was the death of a friend of mine, Ahmed Ali Jafari, who was a participant in our art workshop for 1 year. We knew him really well, we saw him every week. That was a very difficult thing to deal with. He died from a heart attack inside the detention centre in 2013. So that's also in the comic. I think the comic tries to show the atmosphere of anxiety and uncertainty, the mental health crisis that exists in our detention system. It also tries to convey some of the daily life experiences that refugees have related to me. The small incremental humiliation of having your autonomy and your liberty deprived by being held in indefinite mandatory detention, and how that plays out. The lack of privacy, the yearning for intimacy that people experience when they're isolated in that environment for such a long period of time. So I think the comic tries to show a bunch of things just to give a general impression of what life is like, daily life is like inside the detention centre. My art practice is concerned, I think, mostly with the mediums of drawing and printmaking and comics. And I find those forms very interesting because they're very direct and very raw. The tradition of underground comics inspires me because it's very irreverent and self-reflexive, sometimes very rude, sometimes very direct way of communicating. And so in my own work, I try to address issues of identity, my own history, my family history, and I enjoy the self-revealing, sort of self-analysing aspect of comic memoirs that you get in underground comics. So I think art has played a strong role in my life in recovering from things like depression when I was a teenager. And so I'm a firm believer in the power of art to give agency to people, to give them a voice, to help people resolve whatever issues it is in their lives, just to make sense of the world in a way. And so I guess in that spirit, I think Refugee Art Project, I hope, has also provided that opportunity for some of our participants to express themselves, to understand something of their own situation and to communicate that to other people. And I think art in that context can be very empowering and very inspiring.